Gilg Jew, Gilg J as Gil Claire.
Sé Claare na Gael to Gael Toyach Cartnish is Babalia Musaldacha. My name is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert the Carslach.
Have I heard tell of old Bobby Bob?
And I'm here to present Claare na Gael, a programme in 2 languages, with part of the programme in the English language as leis Pertgy Sagilg, and with part of it in the Manx Gaelic, Chinyanamera, the mother tongue of Ellen Vanning, the Isle of Man. As Banachtan Dutrish. William Gell's 1906 poem, Mannin Veg Veen, has brought us to Marathon in Victoria Road in Douglas, which had been the home to Samuel Harris. Gell says that Samuel Harris saw 3 generations in his lifetime. In fact, he nearly saw 4 generations, being in his 90th year when he died in 1905. Ons skiel as Chaglam na Brothers Grimm, ta ket chit de wego graaiig luch, de wel het berger gelia. As de jinnoerloos on a joure, dat gedden pot de reer, as de rail soutje dat volge voor een alte segiel. We begin with an Irish singer from the Corkerina Gaeltach of West Kerry, with on Nick Owlive, who admits to a bit of roguery here, but what's that got to do with anyone else? Taugeisiach Rish Radio Vanning, Station and Ashun, Viskuller Scalia Mach by Doolish, Alan Vanning.
Agus canoig me bo, oh rai me ranena agus cano bravo, rolling tishkilling agus timid on cro, is cadation temptation of winning sun low. Dagarin mahana vishta in singisi go. O kadeshin dantation agunim sunlo. His kadeshin dantation agunim sunlo.
And what's that to those people to whom it's no concern? O Codation Duntation nach Mannin Shindo, an Irish song sung by Muireann Nicowliv. Now, having alluded to these three generations seen by Samuel Harris in his lifetime, from November 1815 to June 1905, William Gell gives an apology for his next boast. Your pardon, reader, here I pray, who studies our death roll today, will bear me out in what I say. Though death will sometimes play us pranks, and snatch some from our younger ranks, longevity, thy name is Manx. Well, having brought us from Cronkbourne to Williston and then into Victoria Road, we actually go back up that road now. Glen Crutchery next. Now, we're all familiar with Glen Crutchery Road, but let's look at the northern end of that road at the junction with Victoria Road, where the old road is usually not open, but nevertheless survives being used for the TT and Manx Grand Prix, and recently, in fact, whilst tree felling was taking place. And, of course, that's known these days as Governor's Bridge, which we'll come back to later. Above the bridge, and up just above what's now Hilberry Green, is the house called Glen Crutchery, I think probably Glen Crutchery Mansion these days. Smoort en mien leis je get de gedden blaast je in geir, maar zo te ginsten loch de wel mundjege as de pishen no ruggejek, as de welly a hira ersen de gol mor jeje den fishen. Dan loch correel rish tannacht en taai house den ket golgus a heel son a vaasje. Ach geneach brege, as den ket gold de girach as a pot de geir, as de goil blaast je bear geir. Tred ei gold a valiat an loch braiach je machion an enam va courage a fishin, as ten ket grey der awe bear je. Leis loch de wel shen enam quech, ach ten cat grey de wel enman quech master munjo an loch, nies. Rish ten ket giri gedden blast je in geir, as rish te ginch breig de wel munjo a braiach je de golmor jeje de pishin elia. Rish ten loch arltach de hannacht en stai, as ten ket golgus a chiel, as te gien lie arn jane geir. Tre ten loch braiach je machion enam a na fishin, te grey de vele lie er soul. Now this is a recording from 1958 of Breton singer Theo Le Maguette with a voice powerful enough to sing against the great pipes of Pierre Bédard.
Le long de la rivière, j'entends les petits oiseaux. Le long de la rivière, j'entends les petits oiseaux qui se disent les uns aux autres dans leur joli langage. Voilà les jeunes fiancés qui vont faire ménage. Pour se mettre en ménage, faut avoir de l'argent. Pour se mettre en ménage, faut avoir de l'argent. Il faut nourrir femme et enfants et payer leur louage. Et voilà donc l'agrément qu'il y a dans un ménage. Premier jour de nos noces, quel habit prendrons-nous? Premier jour de nos noces, quel habit prendrons-nous? La belle a mis sa robe blanche, sa robe de patience. et lui son chapeau de velours, son chapeau de souffrance. Huit jours après ses noces, chez son père elle s'en va. 8 jours après ses noces, chez son père elle s'en va. Papa, vous m'avez marié avec un homme que nuit et jour au cabaret, il ne fait pas sa besogne. Console-toi, ma fille, peut-être qu'il changera. Console-toi, ma fille, peut-être qu'il changera. Mignonnez-le, caressez-le, soyez donc la plus sage, et vous verrez dans quelque temps changement de ménage.
A song in the French language tradition of Brittany, Le Long de la Rivière, sung by Théola Maguette, accompanied by Pierre Bédard, and Théola Maguette also played the bombard at the very end there. Sonne traasgeert, smoor me leis a chet de redden blaas elia Jane Gair. A sonne traasgeert te ginstan loch, de vel pishanelia vei ruggich de munja de, as rish de veli shira ersen de golma jajad and fishin. A geer short and loch chit der and de enman shen bear jay as leer soel. Shay enman chun jou gajanad te grey risachet, na wat mag goilien des jou. Shen no de velu de kinjach de high sty door de cat. Ons de groen beg leer as lesje faman geestinach ed, gin riw fagen en sail as shielten de gullehorse de ridden. Maar so ren een luchtweg glenne tie as huggy die de guljurid. Eg treich hedin haie ket jollesach as renne slugge schies ulju ver maren se fot beg de geir. Nish de wel ulju soel bim eishaks an aigneam doorte, as henke de valjes of vaster beg, as jean de vei rauwer as sour de lure. And the glen is most noticeable as a feature below the bridge with what is known as Summerhill Glen, but that would be Glen Crutchery. In the manorial rolls, the area was owned in the 16th century by a family called Christelson, which seems to have been a personal name developed into Christery in other places, but which in this area has apparently developed into Crutchery. Popularly, though, it's been taken as a Manx version of the name of a harp player. Well, there's an old bowed musical instrument known in Welsh as the crwth, and in Cornish as the crowd, though in Cornwall crowd has become a name used for the fiddle now as a more common bowed instrument. Well, English also adopted that word, crwth or crowd, and it gives rise to the surname Crowther, a player of the crowth. One of the names in the Gaelic languages for a harp is crutch, as from the same root as the crwth or the crowd or crowth, hence the suggestion that Glen Crutchery is the harper's glen, but it seems to be from the personal name otherwise found as Christery. Tim Price's musical evocation of Ballaglass, the second movement of 7, which celebrate different aspects of the Manx landscape and which make up Tim Price's suite, which is called Gem of God's Earth. Stasiwn yn asiwn to Radio Fanning as yn sio taw geisiach rys Claare na Gael. Mish Robert gytyn Carswell o Robert y Carslach.
Have you heard tell of old Bobby Bob?
To Claare na Gael rechlaas yn rys siacht yn lugdi guller sgelia mach yn chyrchyrd trwyd in y dege Radio Fanning. Teir ych edden mor podcast nies, trwyd in y dege Radio Fanning, na trwyd yn reich the podcast eds, fel sien Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, na Alexa. And the modern name of Summer Hill comes from a mansion built at the bottom of Blackberry Lane. The glen itself was the site of Douglas's first reservoir and waterworks in 1833. After its use for drinking water ended, it was used for washing down the promenade until the 1970s. When developed as a glen, the original suggestion was the prosaic Waterworks Glen, before Summer Hill Glen was decided on. Well, that's the glen below the bridge, and above the bridge it runs back up to Hillbury, I suppose. Hillbury, an area where names are doubled up. As well as Hillbury, there's Cronkaberry, with cronk being the Manx word for a hill. But the berry bit is from the Scandinavian berry, meaning a hill. So Hillbury and Cronkaberry both mean hill of the hill. However, this is taking us out of our course. We need to go down a bit to the house, now called Glencrutchery Mansion. The road up to it, now called Hilbury Green, was the original driveway to the house, with a lodge at the bottom on Glencrutchery Road. Ren na loch braiach jay chalirach cray an enam va courage an tras fishing. Chadjine pleaselu veg na share na ren na fear elia dregar a cat. Te en message, Ullu ar soul. Ullu ar soul, dilly a loch. Cray an enam na raur a clash and the rew. Gedenk me rew a lied. Ullu ar soul. Cray beat an bunjay. As ish cray a kionek, rendy lubji heen as renny cardla. Look shen charawa ket shirich de golmor jeja. Treven giaura jet as charaw veg de ve gotch mui, gauw loch toiach smunjen storok. Ta rod get, doorty, nimmich gold de getten de pot ein de geir, as cray gemai as beer, de getten blast jay son shigeris. Be the jaru, doort de cat. Cat gemai is de jinnachu saie chinjed maar as an unyig. Maar so hired rumbu. As tre renket de ball, chure de pot, ach ve na jade un shen, as follum. Now this is a song written as the Cornish entry for the Pan-Celtic International Song Competition a couple of years ago, but the writer and performer Minko couldn't get to Ireland because of a severe storm.
Lei mai cadavo hon an oog with the tray. In an towen, in a mere givel hun rosa dress I will take. And house I borrow, you drive in you. Omu o threfi, and has avaro. If I was tewin on. Tewino. In Tewino. In Tewino. Tewino. In a town, lay my cadavo on an oak with a tray. In a town, and a me give a hun rose a dress I will take. And house I borrow. And house avaro, if I'm lost, tewin.
On keyboards and vocals, that was Cornish artist Minko and her song of the sand dune, Can and Towen. The Towen, Porth Towen is one of the names, the port of the Towen is one of the names for Newquay, and the Towen's an extensive area of dunes near Hale. O, nish ta fisemer a vunje oliu, dilia loch. Nish ta mi fagen and sauce ta fartis ta wusserway. Sha gulmod jeja. Ta was a nye oliu jay. Hoyacht, bear jay, esh, lier soul, esh, noch jinu kummel de henje, demerket, fogelelli asjedes njimi us njes. As a lochweg bach, lesh, oliu soul a chinjek, mach lesh. As rinnaket limori, as hugged jedori. As shen an ach sa tail shaw. As ma saw shen jerra and skeel shen. As to na skeel a mother alder as na shacht mannen and beggar. Well to mannen fair egg de ruggich de gore. Trerin Lucy Crench in de severl jay skeel and ferish na brerich and grim as vi currit a sharen jorish a vogel sig Germanisch geis. Vi smunnion der awi chit gai ach de vier she vogel elie son gore. Van skeel shows dat in de sex hosjacht machion mode older a shach een gai. Onze de jay shach mannen and seversion kartet. Methinks 'twas here, writes William Gell, resided one who knew not fear. Brave Sherwood of the bygone year, stout foeman in the legal tussle, ever in legislative bustle, equipped with hardy mental muscle. The adjustment of Portaire in debt, with daily mail from o'er the wet, these Mannin will not soon forget. Well, this is Richard Sherwood, and we can dip into A.W. Moore's Manx Worthies to find out something about him. Although it turns out actually he's quoting an obituary from the Isle of Man Times. Richard Sherwood, born 1828, died 1883. Born in Douglas, was articled about 1843 to Samuel Harris, there we are back to him, who was afterwards High Bailiff and Vicar General. As Mr. Harris, in addition to his practice, held the office of tithe agent, Richard Sherwood gained a practical knowledge of Manx properties, which was afterwards exceedingly useful to him. After leaving Harris's office, he studied for a time with Deemster Stephen. Deemster Stephen was he was the grandfather of W.H. and J.F. Gell, who did Manx national songs. That's Deemster Stephen. He then abandoned the law and took up farming. Now, we've heard Scottish singer Kim Carney with the band Manrun here in Claare and Gael, but this is from her solo album, and so we gather, Chanel le Chusha Chordarium. Kim Carney and a song in Gaelic na Halba, Scottish Gaelic, Chanel le Chusha Chordachrum. That matter, that topic doesn't agree with me. And we continue with this appreciation of the life of Richard Sherwood as reproduced in A.W. Moore's Manx Worthies. Though Richard Sherwood became a successful farmer, the life soon palled upon him, and he therefore resumed his legal studies, seeking this time the office of L.W. Adamson, where he completed his articles. He was called to the bar in 1857 and commenced practice in Ramsey. He soon found, however, that there was not sufficient scope for his energy and ability at the north of the island, and so he removed to Douglas, where he entered into partnership with A.N. Lawton, the High Bailiff of Peel. They speedily acquired an extensive practice, but Sherwood soon again, being again, as it would seem, seized with a desire for change, went to Queensland. On the voyage out, he wrote his well-known treatise upon Manx real property, which, under the title of Manx Law Tenures, was published in 1899. It's universally accepted as the most authoritative exposition upon the subject. Tred raw, fy sian gawron, as fy siach fyr begeg, as fy chwisel ec orw, as fy riw ec moir na pech ec. Led raw fe uri gol stiach sy cheil de gedden bi yn son. Ma so huggy morw de chit dulje me giet de mooi. Fech Veen doorty, tamir chi gol maag sy cheil. As gauws tamir soel, bi een doei jane wode olde. No de bege ongeert de gas na stiach tjou stai, jenige shishu, kragen, krauwen as olju. Dan rift an de mennik Gael fa chummersen hin, ach fuddy siw de kinjach koren joris a chore garu is na megen duwege. Voor mig Veen, dregger na mannanen, chal jast het Gael al, nimmig Gael kereel waidjen hin. As ren a voir mele slednock, as high roy eg eis an aidnieg. Harawi fode, rosh henk pech enjach krunkel dorse tai. And that's the sound of young Welsh band Abanc, which actually has about a dozen members, and there they played a tune that celebrated Blue Eyes, Le Guide Glass.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Sure that Stasiwn the Nasiwn Radio Vanning, as Claare na Gael was Sculler Scalia Mach ag an treit on, Mer Peen, Robert Getting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Did the ever hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
Van Pech shaw Crunkle a Doris as Gillach Mach. Fossil G a Doris ma Fetchen Veen, tan voir jitrish, as te a chorlesh riddenach son kachtju. Ach for fissek na mannen and beggar, the rawe a mod a holder, Jorish a chore garu. A jinmud fossil Doris died, Chanellis of Voirine, to Corre better village ek, a scarout and Corre head, Shen moda older uskin auris. Esh higher moda older sulga shap, as Chionia glout moor de chelk, as Renaia de Corre de Corre of a mila. As Esh henke back, Rene Cronkel Doris a tie as Dilia, Fossil gia Doris ma fetchen veen, tan voirjou en shaw, as die a chorresh riddenach som kachtju. Ach van moda older a chorna megan do egg as soos egg an unyig, as tre honnig na mannen en shaw, diet mach, a jinmud fossil Doris, genel megan do egg a voirine mortets, shen moda older us on shigeris. And this article continues. On arrival in Queensland, Richard Sherwood found that there were difficulties in the way of his admission to the colonial bar unless he served for a time in the colony, and so he returned to the Isle of Man, where he was at once retained with A.W. Adams in the important case of James Brown versus the House of Keys. He contested the constituency of Douglas in the first election to the House of Keys in 1867, but didn't succeed in being elected. He was, however, returned for Glen Faber in 1869 and continued to represent that constituency till he was appointed Deemster in April 1883. He soon became the acknowledged leader of the House, being, notwithstanding his extensive practice, indefatigable in his legislative labours. He was the introducer of female suffrage, and to him the ballot box and various other legislative improvements are mainly due. As a lawyer, he had few equals and no superiors at the Manx bar. Mary McLaughlin is from the province of Ulster, though I think she lives in the United States of America now, but she continues to sing and teach the Ulster tradition. Here's a young bride abducted by themselves, and she tries to get the attention of a woman on the banks of a river. And that's Mary McLaughlin and the Irish traditional song, A Van Ud Hys, O Woman Down Yonder, and she's being addressed by this young bride who was abducted a year ago by themselves. On the article continues, between 1866 and 1883, Richard Sherwood appeared in every important suit and gained some great successes, notably in 3 cases against the Crown, all of which he won. The most remarkable of these was the Ballahara Claare case, in which he firmly established the right of Manx customary freeholders to the sand and clay underlying their farms. This had been disputed by the Crown. As an individual, he was generous and philanthropic, being ever ready to assist the poor and needy, and he was remarkable for an indomitable will and iron determination, which enabled him to overcome difficulties which would have daunted any less able and persevering man. His influence over the Manx people and their confidence in him were extraordinary. His sad death by his own hand, a few months after his elevation to the bench, was doubtless the result of temporary aberration, induced by sleeplessness and mental depression. Renna mód all the rai gus funnider. Funnider, dote, tammy gortit sa chasem, tammy gwiort the slay pert the heist herish wall. As treven funnider a kudach and a cadan egge, renne rai gus a willier. Willier, dote, cow pert the venya ban herish na meganem. Ach renna mulje gobble ginaway, as smunnion der awi phone wad all the ginu geel de pegenjach. Maar a velu ginaway, dilia mod alda, nim EU. As van mulje goil al, as renne morba corrigersen. As genel shen nach salje gemaak, krij gurish te denia. As nish, henke mitjor en trasgeet gus a doris, as renne kronkel. Foshel G ma fetchen, dilia, tan voir wien jou er jitte valje, as die a chorlesh riddenach son kach wein Gael. Hoiach Jean dun de meganed, doet na mannanen, de wod vis bij ein, welus de vier voir ein na din. Now this is a Breton song of which we've heard a couple of versions. This version is by Gilles Serrois and Jan Kimener, and it was written by Jan Ber Caloch about his native isle of Groix, where he was born in 1888, and he took his bardic name Blaimor, meaning sea dog.
a dréni blé, je tiens à Ontario, disque de meus bionic trois, médaille à terre, à valle, me mamui, elabora, d'unit barra.
Mais au Ganed à Crés Amor, I was born in the middle of the sea, a Breton song by Blaimor, Jan Ber Caloch. In Paris from 1946 there was a Breton language scout group, and the group was called Blaimor after Jan Ber Caloch, and they had a bagad to this Breton language scout group in Paris, and they were called Bagad Blaimor, which the pen sonneur for a number of years was Alan Stivell. Hug an mod a hold an a meg an egg a sus egg an unyig. As tre honnig na mannen an der ouwed ben, ve jeen der out de chulju rid mai de lua, as doshel ad de doris. As tre ve chow stai, honnig at der ouwe mod a hold of on, as wat aglit ass. As tulju machon a mod a hold as na shach mannen an beggar nageert. And when that election bill was before the House of Keys, a clause gave the vote to every male person who is of full age and not subject to any legal incapacity. And Richard Sherwood tabled an amendment simply to remove the word male. And the Legislative Council it was who had the final say at the time, and they made that subject to property ownership, but it recognised women's right to vote in 1881. And my de luesh the mussen tushin chit gusjera Claare. From 7 o'clock through to 9 you can enjoy the best of chill-out music for your Sunday evening with Chris Pearson, and at 9 o'clock Judith Lay will be here to present Sundown. Now, having mentioned Sundown, though, we close Claare Gell with Irina Grania, The Rising of the Sun, and this is the instrumental version of it played by Barul, with special guest Dylan Fowler on lap steel guitar. Ach, ma va mi gresh and a cartnish, and so until the next time, this is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert the Carslach.
Oh, Bobby Bob.
Wishing you a very good night eve, I'm a chriort, as me Irian Shedut.